Hiya folks, you're very welcome along to John's Garage this week. This week we are test driving a Mercedes-Benz W201 190E. So you're very welcome along, so let's get on with it. Okay folks, before I jump into our video this week of the 190E, I have a request to make, okay? I am coming near having to make a bit of a financial commitment to this channel to keep it running into the future, and I need to know ASAP whether that is going to be worth doing. And the way you can show me whether that's going to be worth doing is clicking on that subscribe button. That lets me know you're interested in it, lets me know you want to continue on with it. So please subscribe, like, share this amongst classic car WhatsApp groups across Ireland. Please let as many people know about this as possible. That gives me the message that, John, we're liking it, we want it to continue, spend your money. So you get to spend my money if you do that, which I suppose is an interesting experience. Anyway, let's get on with the video this week. We are here to talk about the Mercedes 190E, which has kindly been lent to the channel by the owner, who was really proud of it, and I absolutely do not blame them, okay? They went out of their way, I suppose, not to find a rough example that they were going to have to improve on or turn into a project. They went out and they found the best example of the 190E that they could find available in Ireland for sale at the time. What did they get? Okay, they bought a car that was 2.5 years ago imported from the island of Guernsey by its previous owner. That means there is no rust. It also means, or is a good indication, that the car has been very well minded. Also indicating that it's been very well minded, it's its entire service history of 28 stamps, stamped every 2,000 miles by the main dealer from new. This car is just about to click over 55,000 miles, which is absolutely immaculate. And it's really easy to tell this car is immaculate because of the light colored interior. There's no stains, there's no wear, there's no black marks, there's nothing. This car is absolutely like new. It's completely original. The paint is original, underneath is original, mechanics are all original, mechanicals in the car are all original. All the interior fittings are original, undamaged, and even unworn. Even the original Blaupunkt stereo is fitted to the car. Now, part of the reason I think this car is so fresh and that this car has lasted so long and feels so solid on the road and solidly built inside is because whoever bought the car originally, while they spent a lot of money buying their, what at the time was the baby Benz, they also got the cheapest version they could get, because there is absolutely no extras in this car. We have windy windows all round, although I will give Mercedes a bit of credit here. They're very solidly built. They work very nice, even after 40 years, or almost 40 years on the road. They're very good. That's basically it though. You have a sunroof, it's manual, you have a basic radio, you also have a very basic air circulation system. There's no aircon here, but what you do get is absolutely beautiful, clear instrumentation. You get a solidity across the car where everything works, everything feels like, I'll be honest, this car could be 80 years old and you could still use it every single day. Everything in here feels like it would just go the test of time. Now, what's under the bonnet? Under the bonnet, you have a 2-litre 4-cylinder injection petrol, electronic injection petrol. As I said, it's a 4-cylinder, produces about 120 horsepower. The 0 to 62 miles per hour, 0 to 100 kilometers speed given is 10.3 seconds. Although I will be really honest, this car isn't about speed, it's not about hustling along, it's actually a brilliant cruiser. Now, for anyone familiar with the Mercedes engines, and BMW also in their credit as well, they tend to be very economical. Although the cars will be big, square looking, they've always been a very economical engine. Now in this particular one, this is no surprise to me, the owner tells me they've worked out they get 41 miles per gallon. And that sounds about right, okay? There is nothing in any of that would surprise me about the car. Now, as I said, this car was previously imported from Guernsey. It was imported by Dean Motors in Dublin for a customer and sold on from them onto the next gentleman who owned it. The current owner is the 3rd owner of the car. There was one other previous owner in Ireland, as I said, supplied by Dean Motors. And previous to that then, there was also one owner from new in Guernsey. And that's it. Okay, and this car doesn't feel like it's been parked up a long time or passed from pillar to post. It just feels really solid and really reassuring on the road. Manual gearbox. Now, I've often heard things about Mercedes manual gearbox that, yeah, they'll last for absolutely ever. but they're a bit of a pig to use. That's always what I was led to believe. I actually have to say, as a manual gearbox, this is pretty nice. Very, very nice manual gearbox, nice and light to use, easy to shift, easy to find gears in. I can't see anything wrong with the manual gearbox in this, so I know the automatics are generally the preference, but can see nothing wrong here. Brakes are pretty good. This particular car luckily does not have ABS brakes, and why I say luckily is it's a system that if it goes wrong, and it is starting to fail in a lot of them now at this age, it's expensive to put right. Other things which are expensive to put right on this car are the bodywork. If it rusts, and it will rust, jacking points tend to be a very, very, I suppose, a weak spot on these cars. What else is a weak spot in these cars is the electronic ignition, most specifically the injectors. And if they go, you're going to have a big bill. Okay, they are expensive and they can be difficult to sort out, so please just be aware of that. On the plus side though, everything's available for these. Everything can be gotten, okay? So you're not going to get stuck with a random part that you can't find. Everything can be gotten. But more importantly than anything else is that 3-pointed star at the end of the bonnet. Because although this is the baby Benz, this is incredibly well engineered. It's incredibly well built. Even, as I say, 40 years after these were released, and this is the 40th anniversary of these this year. These were originally released in 1982, and Right and Drive models came in 1983. So we're at the 40th birthday of the Mercedes 190E. But at that time, if you bought a baby Benz, that meant you got all of the solidity, all of the engineering, all of the high quality workmanship that went into any other Merc came on your baby Benz. Now, if you were to compare a baby Benz now, which is an A-Class, okay, if you were to compare an A-Class to this, I don't think you're getting the quality. I don't think you're getting the badge. I don't think you're getting the engineering. But I suppose Mercedes, in an attempt to make a profit, that's kind of the road they've gone down, which is fine. You look at other car makers like, I'm going to say Lexus. You know I'm a big fan of Toyota on this channel, so I'm just going to say Lexus. I don't think they compromise on the engineering integrity of the cars. I often like to bring on Mercedes from around 2000 onto the channel. I've brought them on a couple of times, and I'm always amazed by the fact that half the stuff in it doesn't work. The other half is barely functioning, and the owner is just one big bill away from scrapping the car. That's generally what's happening. In this, God, I think you'd be mad to even think that way. This is solid as a rock. I'm driving along here, it feels really, really comfortable, really, really competent. It's an absolutely gorgeous car. And what it does though, for those of you who've been around the channel for a long time, I test drove my own W202 previously, and I said the biggest fault with that car was that it wasn't any better than this, and this had been released in 1982. And I still maintain that that's the biggest problem with the W202. This car was so good that no matter what came after it, it was never going to be as good as this. And I actually still hold by that. This is an incredibly good car. As I say, you could drive this car all day, all night, still get out, be nice and refreshed, have no worries about any mechanical issues, have no worries about sourcing a part. I wouldn't even have many worries about the cost of rectifying a fault if one came along. As I said, everything can be gotten. Parts are very common. There's very little difficulty with owning one of these. What I do though personally love, okay, is the fact that the interior is just so clearly laid out. If you go and buy a new car right now, and I've no problem with anybody doing it, but you've got big screens, you've got flashy buttons, you have lights, even at night time it's just glare in your face. Whereas in this, you're driving along, you want to change radio station, you just move a finger on the gear stick up to the radio and you change the station. You can feel everything. Everything can be felt and touched with your hand. You want to turn on the fan, you turn on the fan. You might turn that down a little bit, although it's very, very warm here today. Only, I suppose, thing that there's only two things in this car. If it had them, I would consider it a perfect daily car. Number one, air conditioning, just because I'm a big softie when it comes to hot weather. And number two is cruise control, simply because I do a lot of long distance driving, and it is nice to just be able to put on the cruise control. But other than that, space, comfort, ride quality, build quality, everything in this car is where you want it. Now, if I was starting off and if I was looking for my first classic, would I go for one of these? It's a double-edged sword as far as I'm concerned. Number one, you're not going to get the classic feel with one of these. Why aren't you going to get it? Because the car is just so damn good. Okay, it feels every bit as good as a modern car right now. Okay, that's a testament to Mercedes. They built it so well. It's just so, you could live with this every single day. Okay, so that's the negative. It's a pretty modern car even still to drive. But the positive of going with something like this is the reassurance that, number one, if you buy a really good example, it should last. There should be no issues with the car lasting if you look after it. Okay. Number two, if you wanted to buy one as a project, you will come up against some expensive parts, but the thing is, the parts are all available. And as I said, there's a quality car underneath here. Okay, it's well engineered. It was over engineered at the time, as was the rigor in the 80s amongst a number of different manufacturers. Mercedes went to massive lengths to make sure this was a quality piece of kit, unlike what they do with baby Benzes right now, where it's really built to a price and you're paying for the badge and you're going to suffer the consequences because of that as the car ages. But as a piece of kit right now, this is just to die for. Driving position, although the steering wheel can't be adjusted, it doesn't need to be adjusted. It's actually really comfortable. As I say, I'm driving the manual one. It's a really nice manual box. The only other thing I would say in relation to this car and in comparison to other cars of its age, and I've already kind of touched on it, this car is so modern that when you think what else was available at the time, this thing must have been like a spaceship landing amongst other cars. I know it's big and it's square outside. Personally, I think it's nice and elegant, but my God, it must have just been like something from another world when people were driving around in Corolla DXs and stuff like that. Nissan Micra was launched at the same time. If you think about it, you know, this is worlds apart. I know they're different cars, but just in terms of the quality of it. Now, other thing, I have a connection to one of these cars. These are the very, very, very first car I ever drove was a 190E. It belonged to my uncle Joe, still alive, living down in South Tipperary. And Joe retired from his banking job, bought a white 190E and got a personalised plate on. I think it was Joe 770A. He was living in England at the time, moved home, brought the car with him. And I remember in 1996, I think it was, my sister was getting married in the Dromineer Bay Hotel. And some say Joe may have had a little bit too much to drink. And some say Joe gave me the keys of his 190E, sat in the driver's and the passenger seat and asked me to take him for a drive. And when we got back to the hotel, Joe may have handed me a £20 note and thanked me for dropping him home that night. I'm not entirely sure where Joe thought he was. I didn't understand the concept of having too many drinks at the time. I've since learned what that concept is, but some say Joe may have had a number of drinks and may have just wanted to go home, and I drove him round to his hotel in his own car and got paid for doing so. And thank you very much, Joe, for giving me the first drive of a Mercedes. Now, my memories going back to that night were that the car was really cool. I still think it's a really cool car. It's a really nice car. As I say, it's not a sports car. There is the Cosworth version, the 2.3 litre 16 valve. If you want fast, that's a cracking car to go for. But one other thing I would like to add on these. If you were considering buying one of these, I would do it now. I would not wait. Okay, and the reason I would say is if you want to buy one, do it now, because prices of these are going up. I know what this car cost the owner. I do not think today he would buy it for that. I don't even think he'd buy a half decent one for that much money. Definitely nothing like this. Like the condition here, this car doesn't even need a valet. The seats are perfect. There's no marks anywhere in the plastics. There's no marks in the bodywork. There's no marks in the seats. There's no marks in the boot. The car is showroom condition, and that's really hard to replicate. You can't replicate that no matter how good a restoration you do. You can't replicate showroom condition, and that's important to remember. I think the owner here has gotten a bargain, and I think if you wanted investment advice, buy something like this. Now, I personally like a project, but that's because I like chasing down hard to get parts. But something like this makes complete sense. Okay, you would probably spend double the amount of money to turn a crappy one into this, and it still wouldn't be this because it wouldn't be original. So I don't know, folks. I think values of these they're already on the up. If you want to get in that train, now is the time to jump on it. But anyway, as I said, folks, this is coming to the end of this week's video. Please like, subscribe, give me comments, give me a couple of messages. Let me know if you want this channel to continue. What am I talking about investing in? Well, I need to buy decent computer equipment, and if I'm going to buy decent stuff for editing for this channel, it's going to cost me a bit, whereas I could just buy a normal crappy laptop and that would do me for work. But If you want me to continue, please let me know and I will make that investment, but I need you to send me that signal, okay? So listen, thank you all very much. Thank you very much for joining me here in John's Garage, and I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of days' time. Thank you, folks. Bye-bye.